Strictly no celebrations to usher 2021. Pulau Pinang police seize unregistered drugs worth 14 million ringgit. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. You're watching Updates at Noon with me, Azlan Yadani. The Health Ministry identified 5 new COVID-19 clusters in some districts in Kuala Lumpur, as well as Putrajaya, Perak, Johor and Kelantan. According to its Director General, Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah, the first new cluster identified was the Jalan Gadang Construction Site cluster, a workplace cluster involving the districts of Lembah Pantai and Cheras in Kuala Lumpur. The COVID-19 positive cases for this cluster were identified through targeted screening at a construction site, from which until 28 December, 375 individuals were screened and 13 cases were found positive. The second cluster, the Menara Sri cluster, was also a workplace cluster involving the district of Cheras, Kepong, Lembah Pantai and Titiwangsa in Kuala Lumpur, as well as Kerian in Perak. Meanwhile, the Bukit Pasir cluster is a workplace cluster involving the Muar district in Johor, and 9 cases were found to be positive as of 28 December. As for the fourth cluster, dubbed the Pintu Gang cluster, it was detected in Kota Baru district, Kelantan, and 21 cases were found to be positive. The last cluster is the Putra 15 cluster, a workplace-related cluster reported in Putrajaya, with 8 individuals testing positive for COVID-19. This development brings the cumulative number of clusters reported in Malaysia since the start of the outbreak up to 489, with 214 of them currently active. The Conditional Movement Control Order CMCO imposed on Kuala Lumpur, Selangor and Sabah has been extended until 14th January 2021. According to Senior Minister for Security Datuk Seri Semasa Yaakob, the decision was made following the high number of cases still recorded in the affected areas, as well as the emergence of new clusters. In Selangor, the CMCO was implemented throughout the state, including Sabak Bernam, Hulu Selangor and Kuala Selangor, which were previously under the Recovery Movement Control Order. Meanwhile, in other states, the EMCO was also extended in Mukim 12 Barat Daya and Mukim 13 Timur Laut in Pulau Pinang, as well as in Seremban, Negeri Sembilan, Johor Bahru and Batu Pahat Johor. The CMCO imposed on all 3 states and certain localities in the country was previously scheduled to end this 31st December. Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri noted that the government had also decided to end the CMCO in several localities yesterday instead of 31st December as scheduled earlier, following a drop in cases in these places. The localities included Ipoh and Cemor in Perak, Port Dickson, Negeri Sembilan and Kulai, Johor. On the Enhanced Movement Control Order EMCO, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri said the order would be extended for several localities until 14th January, including the Langkap Immigration Detention Depot and its quarters in Hile, Perak, and Kluang Prison and its quarters in Johor. Besides this, the government has decided to implement the EMCO at Madrasah Darul Naim, Padang Halban, Mukim Peringat in Kota Baru, Kelantan from today until 11th January next year, following a surge in positive COVID-19 cases there. Meanwhile, in a related development, there has been no plans to re-establish a cross-border travel ban as previously done in the country. However, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob emphasized that the matter is still subject to the scrutiny of the Health Ministry. The government also does not rule out the possibility of enforcing tighter standard operating procedures (SOP) if the number of breaches remain high. The leniency given by the government at the moment is to allow the rakyat to abide by the determined SOPs. If the compliance rate declines, the government will have to take correctional measures by enforcing stricter SOPs.
Bukan saja di dalam media sosial, tapi sudah difahamkan di dalam media cetak tentang bagaimana pengunjung zoo di Melaka menonton persembahan tidak ada penjarakan, tidak memakai pelitup muka, membawa anak-anak kecil bersama-sama menonton dan sebagainya. Zoo di Melaka. Jadi ini menunjukkan contoh yang jelas bahawa apabila kita beri kelonggaran, mereka menyalahgunakan kelonggaran yang diberikan. Jadi kalau menyalahgunakan kelonggaran yang diberikan, saya tak tahu apa yang dilakukan, tetapi saya percaya Kementerian Kesihatan akan memberikan pandangan dan nasihat kepada kita. Kalau Kementerian Kesihatan merasakan bahawa perlu ditarik balik, maka akan ditarik balik. Kita akan ikut arahan ataupun ikut nasihat yang dikeluarkan oleh Kementerian Kesihatan. Setakat ini belum ada.
The rakyat is reminded to always adhere to SOPs, practice proper physical distancing, only leave home if truly necessary, and wear face masks outside, as the fight against COVID-19 is not yet over. Mass gatherings for New Year Eve celebrations to usher in 2021 are strictly prohibited to curb the spread of COVID-19. Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri said the risk of the virus spreading uncontrollably was possible if the annual celebration, which is usually celebrated on a large scale, was permitted around the country.
Jadi perhimpunan besar-besaran seperti dulu nak menyambut besar-besaran di dulu ada sambutan di KLCC saja secara besar-besaran. Perkara itu memang tidak dibenarkan kerana ianya melibatkan perhimpunan yang penjarakan sosialnya tidak dapat dikawal. Jadi kalau dalam keadaan begitu, saya percaya sambutan seperti itu tidak dibenarkan.
Speaking at a press conference on the development of the movement control order, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri explained that a crowd would also be difficult to control if such celebrations were allowed. However, there are various ways to celebrate, such as privately with families at home. Police will be increasing the frequency of monitoring and surveillance to ensure proper adherence to SOPs in public places in conjunction with the year-end festive season. According to Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Abdul Hamid Bado, this was to maintain the safety of the rakyat. There is usually a high amount of people who commute back to their hometowns during the festive season or even go on holiday and organize gatherings. Monitoring still finds there are those who are still complacent in terms of adherence to the SOPs to curb the spread of COVID-19. In regards towards the recent COVID-19 trends, stern action must be taken towards individuals who breach the aforementioned protocol. This is mainly to serve as a lesson to other people and deter them from any further violation. A non-licensed drug processing syndicate was brought down involving some 14 million ringgit worth of items confiscated. Pulau Pinang Police in a special operation on Thursday raided a factory in Taman Perindustrian Machang Indah, Bukit Mertajam, and a premise in Taman Kencana, Butterworth. 4 suspects were arrested. According to Pulau Pinang Police Chief Datuk Shahabuddin Abdul Manan, investigations found the factory and its premise does not have a license to process pills and drugs. This falls under an offence according to the Control of Drugs and Cosmetic Regulations 1984.
Dalam operasi ini, kes diserah kepada JKN untuk tindakan lanjut. Pihak JKN Pulau Pinang telah merampas beberapa bahan, ubatan dan peralatan memproses yang bernilai 14 juta ringgit.
The prime suspect is the factory tenant, aged 50, with 5 previous criminal records, while his elder brother has a prior criminal record under Section 407 of the Penal Code. The remaining 2 suspects are a married couple. That concludes updates at noon. In our top story, strictly no celebrations to usher 2021. Tune in to news at 10 tonight on saluran Berita RTM on My Freeview channel 123. You can also stream the news by surfing RTM's My Click. Thank you for watching. I'm Azlan Yardani. Stay tuned to TV2 and have a pleasant day ahead.